And this was outside of my ability to know how to honestly help my daughter. And it was a community. And it was this coach who became a mentor, not just to my daughter, but to me, to admit to her, I'm struggling and I'm not sure what to do.
Welcome to the Generation Youth Podcast. I'm back again with another exciting episode. I'm James McLamb, your host. Our good friend Jeff Forrester introduced me to this lady today. Tracey, thank you for being a part of our audience today. Thank you for being a part of our show and sharing the mission that you have on your life, which was so inspiring to me. And I loved, as we jump into it in a moment about it. But before we even do that, our audience would love to find out a little bit about you. They get tired of James talking all the time. Believe me, they do. But they would love to hear from you. So if you don't mind, if you wouldn't take just a couple of minutes and let them know who you are.
Awesome. Well, welcome and thank you all at the same time. It's a pleasure to be connected. And you are a light in this world, James. And so I'm happy to be connected today and talk with you and your audience. I'm Tracey Currey. And beyond ISNation, I'm a mom to two beautiful girls who are both in college. So I've had a big shift in my life with being an empty nester, as they call it, and all the things that come with that. But could not be more proud of my girls who are the inspiration for what I do in their sports journey. They're both lacrosse players in college and amazing people. I've been married to my husband, Jeff, for 26 years, and we live here in Winter Park, Florida. So passionate about service and making an impact. That is, I live from a purpose-driven place in my life. But the things that also give me passion are horses. I'm a big horse person. I love animals. Just recently adopted a new dog from a rescue that needed a home. And so I'm a huge animal advocate in person as well on that front. But yeah, that's a little bit about me, and passionately love the Lord and living to be the best I can example from that standpoint in my heart on just loving on people and doing the best I can every day.
Now, you're the founder. It's your passion that has created ISNation. Could you tell our audience what ISNation is, or maybe even start with what was the catalyst for this? What gave you this vision of what this was going to be? Because I would imagine that most of them, this is their first time being exposed to this. And so they want to know what's going on here.
Sure. Well, I think a lot of great things start from being seated in your heart. And that's what happened to me through my life. I like to think about things happening from the standpoint of what are the things and the gifts that you have, the challenges that you go through, and right in the middle of that becomes your purpose. And I aligned with that very powerful time in my life back in 2019, and a calling on my heart to really look into the sports, the current state of sports and youth sports specifically. And I was running a different company at the time and sold that company so I could solely focus on what was going on in sports. What were people struggling with? Athletes, parents, coaches, and seeing my own girls struggle was a huge proponent for me to realize what's going on, not just on the sports life and in field, but with children and the social media pressures and all the things that we know about. What would it look like to get involved and make a difference? And so I spent years doing research, and my business partner and co-founder, Chris Robinson, and I really aligned on this path and what would it look like to start really focusing on youth athlete mental health and youth athlete mental fitness. We like to talk about it in that standpoint, how to help bring resources and tools. And at the time, James, for me, I didn't realize the close alignment that it would end up having. But when I really looked at my own children's journey, especially the journey of my younger daughter, who went through a profound mental health journey for the last 8 years of her life, there were some tragic things that happened along that journey. And I'm so thankful to say that she's a survivor of what she's been through. But I realized that the healing and what she went through, the biggest impact that happened in her life and in mine were the relationships and the connections that came into her life as a part of her journey. And so ISNation really has become about connecting, helping athletes feel not something else for them to do, but supporting the sports community and connecting with them and showing them through the power of relationship that they are enough, that they're seen, that they have value and their purpose of what they're going through. And that's kind of where we're starting from.
What do you see as the issues that young athletes are facing? What's going on in their mental aspect? Because I imagine most parents focus on the physical aspect of preparing their child as an athlete, getting them to,
Sure.
getting them stronger, faster, more alert on the field, getting their skill development going. But so what's the issue? What are we looking at here?
So the numbers are pretty staggering. I mean, there's 13 million youth athletes, 13 to 18 in this country.
Ooh,
And the profound numbers are that 91% of them are struggling with stress in sports. Three in five,
91%?
91%.
9 out
And
of 10.
yeah, have experienced sports related stress in their lives. Three in five have experienced a mental health issue in relation to the sports that they're in. And you make a great point about the performance side. And while that seems to be the focus, the what they're going through on that performance side and who they're showing up to be, and almost that imposter side of doing what it takes, and being able to, the stigma around being able to talk about I'm hurting or I'm not okay or I'm not doing well, seems like weakness. I can't talk to anybody about it because I'm not going to be good enough, or my coach won't trust me, or the pressure that they feel to stay in this bubble of performance anxiety. And that, in the data and the research that we've done, the performance anxiety, the identity of who am I without my sport, really being able to voice that they are not okay. And what we identified in my own journey with my daughter, but in all of the research, is the suffering in silence. And so the enemy that we've named on this journey is that it is silence. The silence of the words and the thoughts in your head without an outlet to talk about and be validated to speak about how you really feel, leads to tragic circumstances and leads to a 60% increase since 2007 in youth suicide. And those numbers keep rising every year. We just lost 3 children in Seminole County last month, all in the same week, not related, 3 different high schools to suicide, 3 different student athletes. And so the silence, James, is the true struggle, and feeling that they can't talk about how they really feel because they'll be judged or looked at as weak, or whatever they identify that stigma is for them.
I want to go to that 91% number again, because if there are parents listening and that didn't just cause them to stop and take a double take, then I don't know what's going on. But I want to focus on what you said, 91% sports related stress. So if I'm listening in this and that's the first time I've heard that number and I'm not related to this, my first question as a parent is going, what do people classify as sports related stress? So how is that identified? I can understand, I just interviewed someone yesterday who wrote a book about the injured athlete and how they can recover for that. We talked about those types of things. I can understand that kind of stress. But what are we talking about here? What is sports related stress? Because that's a high number, 9 out of 10.
Right. It goes from, it's a variety of different things that went into that number. It goes in from them being willing to talk about not being able to speak to their coach, teammate, self pressure, identity loss in sport, dealing with an injury. Who am I? What am I going to do if I'm not playing? I don't know myself beyond my sport. It's such a great question. There's so many different things. And honestly, all kids are, what we have found in that number is so high because they all have some relation to the stress that it's causing them, of the grind. They can't stop competing. We unknowingly in this country, I'll say unknowingly, have created sports to be a 24/7, 365 cycle. There used to be a season to sports. Now, if you're not involved, you don't go from season to club and then to school and then to club, and you're not recruiting. And so they're on this hamster wheel that they can't get off of. And the parents are trying to help them fulfill their dreams. And is it really the child's dream or theirs? Is the ability of the child there to be able to talk to the parent about how they really feel, and to
Yes.
to have an honest conversation? It's all of those things that lead into this massive number of how these kids are struggling.
I've said often that youth today are just responding to the world that we created for them, and we created this environment both with technology and these opportunities that we thought was going to be so grand for them, and had no idea of the long-term implications of it. And I noticed it do that. So a parent listens to that and they were like, you just named a lot of stuff. How do I identify that my kid is one of these 91%? odds are they are, but how do I know what's going on? What are the signs? What are some indicators of something so that I can be alert for this?
So I think the number one thing I would implore people to do, and it's so hard to do, but to ask them, to be curious, to be able to just walk into your kid's room tonight, when you pick them up from school, when you feel the opportunity that can arise for you to just ask them, how you doing?
Yeah.
And just listen.
You know what?
Listen.
I think a parent probably hears that. They're like, "Yeah, I do that." But what if my kid just tells me what they think I want to hear?
Right. All right.
Because
I'm
yeah,
okay.
immediately when
Everything's
you were
fine.
my oldest, if I'd have gone into her room when she was in high school as an athlete, and said, "Hey, how are you doing?" I would have been. It would have been like a 4 hour conversation because she would have told me. I mean, she just right out there. My middle child, my son. If I had told him, and he probably had the stress related injuries than anyone else, he would have said, "Oh, I'm fine. Everything's good. I can make it out." And it would have been a short conversation with very little info.
Yeah. So I think you've hit the nail on the head. And most the parent child relationship is, and I've gone through it myself with my girls. It exists to where they're willing to talk to you about where they're at. I still think that there can be a moment in a conversation to build trust if they're not used to having that conversation. As parents, to get curious, to just ask questions and to start threading that. The biggest thing for me that I saw change in what ISNation is about and what we're doing, while we've created a product that we want to connect with, not to, but with children on a daily basis, it's the sports community, it's the mentors, it's the people coming. So the change that happened in our life was a coach that came in to walk alongside my daughter. And honestly,
Mm.
James, that took the pressure off of me to have the solution, because as parents and as a mom, I feel called to, I know I need to know how to heal. I'm the cook, I'm the nurse, I'm the everything when I'm raising my babies, and they look to me for the solution. And this was outside of my ability to know how to honestly help my daughter. And it was a community, and it was this coach who became a mentor, not just to my daughter, but to me, to admit to her, I'm struggling and I'm not sure what to do. Because I can tell you this, at the end of the day, our kids, all they really want is to know that we're there. All they really want to know is, it seems like you're struggling today. I just want you to know I love you. And if that's what we can represent to them, if these parents listening out here today aren't sure where their kid's at, the first conversation could look like just letting them know, how was your day today? I'm really proud of you, or I love you, without actually trying to solve anything. Just be there. That's what they really need. And that's really what happened in the transition for my girls and I, that role that I began to play, because it wasn't for me to solve. Could I be their mom and know I didn't have the solution and it wasn't okay right now? And that needed to be okay. And it was the mentors that helped me see in my own faith to realize I could lean on other things in my faith to know we're going to get through this. We're going to be stronger on the other side. And the solutions came and the answers came over time, but my relationship with my girls got stronger because of it.
Are there any other outward signs, something we can look at, behavioral changes, something that we can go on so the parent can say, I'm not, something's going on here and I need some help? Because I'm thinking right now, somebody's screaming as they're listening to this going, I think this is happening in my house. How do I get through? How do I know for certain?
So the only way I know how to be is really honest. Suffering in silence, the mask is the reality. What these kids have learned how to do on social media is, the
Yeah.
selfie, the smile, the I'm okay, everything's okay. They disregard their own thoughts inside their head because they feel so stuck. And so some of the signs just simply aren't there. In the tragic circumstances of loss, that when someone has taken their life, it is a shock to the community because they seemed okay. So while that's hard to hear, that was the same exact path I walked on. I didn't know that my daughter was suffering in silence. I didn't realize through that smile and her friends and her excellence, was it all adding up? No. Was her performance on the field, was she struggling? Was there anger? There was. But did I think that it was leading into something that could end her life? I didn't. And so I think a lot of parents who have been in my walk and in through my shoes would probably agree to that. So I think you can look for some signs, but I think it's more about the connection that you just need to have to start that bond and that question of, how you doing? And really, like I mentioned, just letting them know you love them and you're there, and watch for the withdrawal, the anger, those things that are a sign that can help give you some clues.
So what do we do? I mean, as the parent, I told my guest yesterday, and I say it again today to you. Where was this, 7 years ago or 8 years ago when my son was entering into school and I could have used this kind of stuff? So if I'd have known this kind of stuff then, what should I have done? What would have been the next step for me? Because I know that they were suffering in silence as a result of lots of things, both internal and external stresses, injuries, maybe not meeting up. I love what you said about identity loss in sports. That really spoke to me and what's going on. So what does a parent do? I know the connection is there, but I just feel like a parent is listening to us right now and they're like, give me a step. Give me step one. Help me out. I need something to do right now. Maybe that's just me yelling out stuff like that. But, I just feel like somebody wants to know, where do I go? What do I do?
Yeah, well, I love that. And I think that it's a couple things. It's why we started IS Nation. What you ultimately want to show people is that struggle isn't bad. That difficulty isn't bad. There's a huge difference to make here about what social media and the world says failure looks like. That there's a loss of hope, James, and a loss of hope leads to tragic circumstance. But on the other side of that healing, restoration of hope is what heals all of those dark places. And that looks like embodying struggle, flipping the narrative to say, every day I'm going to choose one thing, 1% to focus on and celebrate. That is what IS Nation is about. We developed this tool to have people come and every day hear from the sports community, a daily inspiration, a daily mindset to be able to say, this is who I am and this is what I went through. And a mindset tool that they can take away. I kind of see all of us in this community as being seed planters so that one person could hear a message and relate to it. Maybe not even in that moment, but maybe throughout their day, something happens and they could say, wait a minute, I heard this. I'm going to change how I'm viewing this situation because the world will keep you in fear and lack and worry. And what we know the truth is that challenge and difficulty shapes you. Everything that I've been through, even the journey to create IS Nation and all the things that we didn't get right on the journey embodies the truth of what we know now. 1% every day. What do you stand for? These things, as you learn them, they help you grow, help you identify. Why aren't we talking to kids in school about having a value? What do you believe in? And as you go through things, that only sharpens and helps you get stronger. So my advice on what do you do with all of this is to really look at how are you living your life? How are you reacting to things? What does struggle and stress mean? Where are you getting your thoughts and your identity from? And reach out to us because coming to IS Nation and connecting with our community and connecting with going to our website, I would love to have a conversation with you. But we simply want to spread the message and you'll see it on our site. We want people to feel seen. We want them to know we hear them. That means we want you to trust us. And that is a privilege. And that takes time. So no one can come in with a solution. There isn't some magic wand that we can sprinkle over this situation. What we can do as a community is say, things are hard and we want to walk alongside of you and we want to build a relationship. And that takes time and showing up that 1% and open up the space for people to share how they really are doing. That it's okay to not be okay and start to reframe in their mind the idea of, I'm really struggling, but I'm going to learn and I'm going to keep getting better. Words of a great coach that helped inspire me on that mindset. So I hope that gives some light and some hope to the reality of how we start walking through change together.
I love the vision and passion that you have and your organization has of helping young athletes. How does it work? How does what you provide work so that a parent can visualize how they can implement this in their child's life? I love the communication. I love the connection aspect of it, and especially when you talk about mentors. But how does this platform, what are you guys doing? How can you help them out?
So we realized that, I think I mentioned that we're not a product, another thing to add to someone's plate. And that's really, really important because we wanted to create something to really benefit where our athletes are. So in all the research that we did, helping them do what they already want to do. We know that, James, this is a very interesting number. Out of those 13 million youth athletes, 7.2 million of them are out there looking for a solution. They're online, they're going to Headspace, they're going to Calm, they're checking out things. And so we want to speak to them to say, hey, through what we've created and through this product, when you register for IS Nation, we're going to communicate with you. And maybe that communication looks in the morning saying, hey, check out what we have to say about resilience today. So we want to build a connection. And we studied the behavior design mechanics to be able to say, instead of going on TikTok first or Snapchat or Instagram, start your day for yourself. Start your day with a mindset tool that, and this is the biggest piece, as you grow and you learn, what you can then do is be an inspiration and that light for others. So it's learn and grow and then be the light and be an inspiration. So they could share something that they've learned with their teammate or someone that they know that's struggling. So we created something to meet them where they are, a short piece of content, one video, but we didn't create it. Their peers did. People that they'll recognize in sport did. A message that's relatable, a theme that's relatable about something that they went through. We have created the ability for people all over this nation to create that video. So if someone has an inspiring story that they want to share, they can go to our website, click on Become an Ambassador, and follow the simple steps that we've created for them to share their inspiration. So we're not sports specific, and this is welcome for young developing girls and boys, youth athletes, all to come. Plus, we have our sports professionals, Olympic athletes, all sharing their message of inspiration and
So
their daily
there's a
mindset
variety of people. You've got, the pros, let's just call them the experts, those who've been there, done that. But then you've got the young person themselves, the college student, maybe even the older high school student that's in the trenches sharing their journey as well.
Yes. And that takes the place of a parent picking up their child instead of, the usual, how did it go today or whatever. Hey, check out what IS Nation had to say, Lizzie Colson, like a sports figure that they're going to connect to, or someone in their sport that they'll be able to say to their child, go see what she had to say today. This impacted me. I'd love for you to listen to it. Or that parent or that coach. Hey guys, we're going to watch this video on what Michael Mabry or Janine Tucker had to say about resilience, and get the team thinking and looking. And it's a healthy way to spend 2 to 3 minutes to start flipping the narrative of the fact that these kids are on a rabbit hole on the disillusion of what social media is. And here's a product that we want to connect with them where they are, doing what they're already doing, loving on them, helping them feel successful. And we go beyond that, James. The next big piece for IS Nation is to go out and meet them face to face, because the biggest piece is the personal connection. So while I love that we've created a tool and technology, what matters today more than ever is the face to face, going to schools, going to events, going to teams, and to hug them and to tell them we're here and we love you and how you doing, and build that trust face to face. I am so fired up about this next step for what we're about to do, and bringing people like Josh Wells, who won a Super Bowl ring with Tom Brady, who was in the NFL for 10 years, his story in his mental health journey, to be able to passionately say to kids, like, you can do this. I've been through this. He knows that that's why he was an athlete, was to be able to go out and speak on his own experience to help these kids. We're bringing really powerful people front and center to connect with them.
And these are opportunities that you'll have for these speakers and stuff to go into schools and connect. I mean, that's outstanding. That's outstanding that they have that opportunity of that real life connection.
That's right. It's the difference.
These videos, these presentations, I caught in there. You said 2 to 3 minutes. Is that the average length of them, or?
That's we just want you to come. The whole experience, from seeing the theme of the day, reading the quote, watching a daily inspiration, and then watching the daily mindset tool, can sometimes just be 2 minutes of your time. It's a 1 minute video, 1.5 minute video. They're short, they're impactful. They get to the heart and they get to your mind about a different way to think about things. And we have a really cool flow after that video, a takeaway, a challenge, something you can read, a short little sentence about what that person had to say. And then share the video, share it out to your community. So if you're an athlete or a parent or a coach that's watched this and you know someone that needs to see it, you can write to them through a text message, right into social media, share it to them.
Are you already getting feedback of how that's working with young athletes and with their parents?
The share was the biggest piece of the feedback that we got, to say, this is how people are connecting today. And the reality is that bridges that connection. So many kids, they're not talking. They're not even texting. It's Snapchat. It's these quick little things. So the ability to share a video is the first step in saying, wow, this is really cool. I want to learn more. We've done the work to study the platforms of success that we haven't just, we wanted to look at what are people doing that's successful that people are relating with. And it's been a big inspiration to us. So sharing that video is a huge piece of feedback that people really appreciated the ability to have it.
Any mindset changes or improvements that you've heard about from a young athlete hearing it? A parent just so ecstatic that they're messaging you about it.
So we're just beginning this journey. So I'm excited to say that we've been in our beta rounds. We're going to be launching in the app stores in about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. So by the time your audience is listening to this, we will more than likely be live for download in the app stores on iOS and Android. I will say that the beta feedback that we've gotten and the people testing it, daily mindset tools are, I didn't think about this way, or wow, I'm going to try that today. So it means so much that they could end their day, come in the door and think, wow, you know what, I thought about this differently today because of what I heard, and it impacted me. I want to go back tomorrow. Every day, every 24 hours, our theme refreshes. So we've got a new thought, a new tool, a new story to share with them.
I see this not only being something that a parent could use, which I would have loved to have used it, but as I mentioned yesterday, sometimes stuff coming from mom and dad get that they're less enthusiastic about joining those. But I could see a coach diving into this and saying, this is going to be a part of our routine. You have to see this part before you come to practice because we're going to talk about it. I can just see this being an integral part of the personal development, the mental aspect of the game as well.
Yes.
Because what I've realized, and we're actually interviewing somebody next week for the podcast that'll be up pretty soon, that a lot of school systems now are implementing mental game coaches or athletic mindset coaches in their student body. It's filtering down. We've known for years that professional athletes have had these.
Right.
And then it was going down to the power schools, the big schools that had the big budgets, they were doing it. And then it started to trickle down. And now high schools are catching in on it. And even some middle schools that I've heard up in Long Island have adopted this. So I can see this platform being just like a significantly major tool. I really can't overemphasize how big it could be for them to be able to have that resource to do this.
Well, you've hit the nail on the head. And I just want to mention one piece about that. And a lot of the athletes, the commonality of the conversation that comes out with teams in high school and college that are now bringing in a psychologist into school, someone available to have a conversation, is not someone that the kids are connecting with. I just interviewed a lacrosse athlete a couple of days ago who, through her last 4 years in college, they implemented a team psychologist, and nobody's wanting to make that connection. I love that they're doing it and we need to have it there, but the relatability and the trust factor, it's not about just filling out a form. There's a sterility and a disconnect to it. So we want to implore the schools I'm not trying to say at all that we don't want to have those things there, but we're hearing directly from these kids and these student athletes on what they're doing and what they're not doing. And so we want to be this place of trust and work alongside that type of relationship, so that maybe if the sports psychologist had a different way to connect, that these kids would lower their threshold of trust and want to go talk to them. But the bottom line is they don't feel comfortable to do it. And so we want to be having the relatability factor of people in sport to connect with them and have this be something that over time they learn how to trust, will be a significant bridge to hoping that they will then make that connection with the other resources that they're being provided.
And the whole time you were saying that, my mind was thinking is, we have created this world that we do not know how to teach them to live in, and we're expecting them to thrive in it. We've created this high pressure world where my son was 6 or 7 years old playing baseball, 15 years ago. And they were already having travel teams for 6 and 7-year-old baseball players. And I'm like, why? Why are you? And there's so much. And the coaches, he got invited to be on one. And I heard those coaches. This is what drove me to get involved in coaching, because I saw this happening. These coaches yelling at these kids, "You're pathetic." And parents in the thing saying, "You got to play harder. You're not doing." And I'm like, they're 7.
Yeah.
7. And I'm like, they should not be these types of teams. And you alluded to it earlier on in one of the opening statements is that this world that we've created for them, a lot of times I think is more for us as parents to live vicariously through the child than it is to increase their exposure and help them thrive. So
Yeah,
we
it's
have
you
created this
are.
world, and this is why we need this. This is why we need people to step in this gap and be able to share their stories in such a powerful way that can be uplifting for young people.
Listen, the conversation is out there, but it can't be something for someone else. And I think I mentioned this to do. It has to be something that we are walking with them and connecting with
Yeah.
what they're already doing. So it's so important. And the next step for us with IS Nation is to connect with those parents, is to bring the resources and support. Listen, I spent years and went through a 4-year cycle with the same group of parents to really track what growth looked like for their own experience for their athletes. And they began and ended with the same. I don't know enough about my kid's sport. I don't know how to help them. I don't understand recruiting. It never changed in those 4 years. So we want to bring those tools, that support, create systems and processes that they can relate to and give them what they're looking for. Same thing with the coaches. In this country, it baffles me that just because you were an athlete and you want to coach doesn't necessarily mean you should. But yet we're allowing people to just hang out, their shingle, and they're going to coach. And God bless them, they're only using the tools that were modeled for them. And if they're watching that coach who screams at their team, "You're pathetic, do more, work harder," and try to beat it out of them, beat performance out of somebody, they're going to go emulate that same thing when they think that this is what coaching is. So we really want to take a stand to show a much better way. And over time, we're going to do just that.
Well, Tracey, how can our audience get in touch with you and connect with you so they can learn more about what you have to offer and what your organization is doing to really change the trajectory, to change the conversation, to change the mindset of youth athletics?
Well, we're all about our mission right now is break the silence. And I'd love for you to connect with me. So from isnation.com, you can learn more about our mission, about our platform, about as we launch our speaking events, which we're going to be doing in December. But if anyone wants to reach out to me directly at Tracey, which is TRACEY at isnation.com. I would love any feedback, any thoughts. All feedback is welcome. I'm here to support. And if I can be of any support to anyone out there and be of a help, that's my job. James, this is my purpose in my life. We have a big goal to not just be in the US, but to take this mission overseas and to really impact people. And so I am resilient and persistent about making it happen and just making an impact, because people's lives and being a part of changing them is what we're all about. So I really appreciate you and your passion and having me today.
Well, no, I appreciate your passion so much so that this conversation is not ending in this episode. We're going to be back. We're going to be back again, and you have one of your ambassadors, one of your team members that's going to join us as well. So,
Johnny Tucker is coming. Yeah, thank you for the invitation of bringing her. Can't wait for your audience to meet my beloved friend, an impact and difference maker and leader in sports, who is all about get to listen to a woman from a heart perspective on what coaching really is about and the impact she's made for 29 years as a coach. Before she retired, she spent 29 years at Hopkins. So can't wait to join you again soon.
Well, Tracey, thank you so much for your time today. And again, we're going to be back together pretty quickly after this. So this is going to be fun as well. And audience, thank you for sticking with us. Listen, if you've been around with us for over 35 minutes, almost 40, getting close to 40 now, you obviously found some value in what you're hearing. You were drawn in, or maybe you left it on by mistake and you didn't know what's going on. Either way, you're still here with us right now. And what we would like for you to do is do 3 things for us. And I ask the audience this quite frequently. Number 1, comment on this podcast on wherever it is and reach out to us. Just let us know what's going on, what your thoughts are. Number 2, like it. It helps in the algorithm so everybody it shows up on other feeds. But just like Tracey alluded to earlier about sharing, we want you to share this episode with someone who doesn't know about this, because someone out there needs to hear this message, needs to connect with IS Nation, and you could be the person to help them do that by connecting them with this episode to open the door for them. So please do those 3 things. We're going to be back very soon with another episode of this, and we'll see everybody really soon on another episode of the Generation Youth Podcast.